If you grew up on a farm, you probably remember the sound of a tractor roaring through the foggy mornings. And if that tractor was a Massey Ferguson, those memories are still fresh. In today's video, we take a look back at 5 of the most reliable Massey Ferguson tractors ever produced, machines that not only tilled the soil, but were also a part of the lives of countless American farmers. Massey Ferguson 135. There are tractors that not only get the job done but also help write the history of American agriculture. Among them, the Massey Ferguson 135, produced from 1964 to 1975, is always a name that is mentioned with respect. It is not simply a machine, but a trusted friend of thousands of farmers for decades. The MF 135 was born at an important time when agriculture was changing with new technology, but farmers still needed a tractor that was simple, powerful, and easy to repair. And Massey Ferguson did just that. The MF 135 kept the philosophy of less complicated, high efficiency that Americans have always promoted. The heart of the MF 135 is a 3-cylinder, 2.5L Perkins diesel engine, producing about 45 engine horsepower and nearly 38 horsepower at the PTO shaft. In fact, it's one of the most durable tractor engines ever built. It's been through hot summers and cold Midwestern winters without complaint, requiring little more than clean oil and a good battery. With a dry weight of around 3,300 pounds, the MF 135 is heavy enough to do serious work but still nimble on small fields and family farms. Massey Ferguson's renowned hydraulics allow the user to control the depth, lift and lower the equipment smoothly and precisely. No computers, no sensors. Just pure mechanical power and practical design. What makes the MF 135 special is its astonishing simplicity. The manual shifter, manual throttle, and mechanical brake are all laid out intuitively and easily. A novice can master them in just a few hours. But the best part is that when it does break down, which is rare, you can fix it at home, with a few basic tools in your shop. Many farmers say the MF 135 was the first tractor they owned, and the last one they ever sold. I remember my dad using the MF 135 to pull conveyor belts, run water pumps, and even push snow during the coldest days in Ohio. It started up every morning, hummed along all day, and then went to sleep quietly in the barn like a loyal sentinel. To this day, if you drive along the red dirt roads of the South or across the plains of Kansas, it's not hard to spot an MF 135 plowing or pulling a hay cart. There's a little rust on the body, the paint is faded, but the engine is as strong as ever. Those who've driven it agree, the MF 135 has no serious weaknesses. It just keeps running and keeps running year after year. That's why the MF 135 is still the most sought-after tractor in the vintage line. Not because it's rare, but because everyone wants one to work, to display, or just to remember a bygone era. A time when farming was associated with the steady sound of the engine and the smell of the soil after rain. If I had to choose a tractor that represents the durability, practicality, and loyalty of the American farmer, I would not hesitate to say, it is the Massey Ferguson 135. And if you have ever driven one, I believe you will also smile and nod in agreement. Massey Ferguson 35. As a kid, I used to ride in the back of my dad's truck as he hauled hay to the farm. In the late 1950s, the Ferguson name began to appear more and more in the morning coffee conversations of local farmers. Then in 1956, the Massey Ferguson was officially born, and with it, the Massey Ferguson 35, or MF 35 as we call it, ushered in a new era of tractors in America. When it comes to reliability, it's hard to beat the MF 35. This tractor was not only powerful, but also resilient, durable, and cute in its own way. It was present on most small American farms throughout the 1950s and 60s. And to tell the truth, to this day, many MF 35s are still working well in the fields. The MF-35 is powered by a 152 cubic inch Perkins 3-cylinder diesel engine, a highly fuel-efficient and durable power plant that will last for years to come. It puts out about 37 horsepower at the PTO shaft, enough to pull a 3-blade plow, run a hay baler, or even run an old conveyor belt in a granary. But the good news is that it doesn't require much. No fuss, no hassle, just regular oil changes and a little care, and it's ready to go every day. At about 2,500 pounds, the MF-35 is light enough to maneuver on small plots, but sturdy enough not to slide or tip over when pulling heavy loads. The original Ferguson hydraulic system, a legacy from Harry Ferguson, is still a strong point. It allows precise control of plow depth without the need for electronics. Everything was mechanical back then, but surprisingly accurate. But the MF-35 is more than just a machine. It's a companion. Many of you watching this video have probably driven it in the hot summer sun or herded it into the barn on a snowy night. It has a deep, steady engine sound and a warm breath that makes you feel secure every time you start the engine. The iron steering wheel, the springy seat, and the center-mounted manual shifter, all very real, very solid, and very American. The special thing about the MF-35 is that it's easy to repair. No computers, no sensors. Just a basic set of tools, a little experience, and a little patience, and you can maintain the whole machine. So it's no surprise that to this day, thousands of MF-35s are still working every season across rural America. Someone once said, the MF-35 wasn't the first tractor I drove, but it was the first I trusted. And that's true. With a series of improvements over the years, from the digital speed system to the gasoline engine option, Massey Ferguson listened to farmers and gradually improved this tractor according to what users needed, not just following the trend. Today, if you go to an antique tractor auction, the MF-35 is always the name that many people pay attention to. Not because it is flashy, but because it reminds people of a golden age, when farmers and tractors shouldered the burden of crops together, without complaining, without giving up. So, when it comes to the 5 most reliable tractors of the Massey Ferguson brand, the MF-35 deserves to be at the top of the list. Because it is more than just a tractor. It is a part of rural American life, durable, rustic, and always ready to serve. Massey Ferguson 1100. When talking about the most durable tractors under the Massey Ferguson brand, it would be a big mistake not to mention the MF-1100. Manufactured from 1964 to 1972, the Massey Ferguson 1100 was Massey's bold response to the growing demand for a high-performance, high-power tractor for the ever-expanding farms after World War II. For farmers of the time, and perhaps some of you watching this video, the MF-1100 was a quantum leap. It was no longer just a compact machine pulling a double-bladed plow. It was a true workhorse, born to do heavy work, plow deep, pull big, and serve hundreds of acres. The MF-1100 was powered by a Perkins A6 diesel, 6-cylinder, 354 cubic inch engine that produced 93 horsepower at PTO. This was no small feat for the 1960s. It allowed farmers to use larger, heavier equipment, from 5-blade plows to large roller presses, and even modern seeders. The great thing about this engine, despite its power, was that it was durable, cool, and easy to maintain, a valuable combination that not many manufacturers could match. The MF-1100 weighed in at around 9,000 pounds, not including ballast. This gave it impressive pulling power while maintaining stability during operation. The 8-speed forward and 2-speed reverse transmission, combined with Massey's multi-power system, allowed for smooth shifting even on the move, a big plus for those who had to work on steep slopes or heavy soils. Many consider the MF-1100 to be the first Massey Ferguson tractor to truly enter the heavy-duty game. And while it wasn't the most convenient model of its time, its simplicity, ease of operation, and ease of repair were exactly what farmers loved. The engine started every morning, the hydraulics didn't complain, and the whole thing just kept working all day long, requiring little maintenance. I remember clearly, in the early 70s, my uncle in Iowa bought a brand new MF 1100 to replace his old International Farmall. He was hesitant at first, but after the first harvest, he exclaimed, "I should have changed sooner." And sure enough, that MF 1100 worked for nearly 20 years straight, with only a few major maintenance visits. Looking back, the MF 1100 was more than just a powerful tractor. It also symbolizes a breakthrough period of American agriculture, when the scale was bigger, the expectations were higher, but people still needed to trust each time they climbed into the driver's seat. The MF 1100 was a faithful companion in that era of change. Today, MF 1100s still appear in vintage tractor shows, preserved as treasures in the barns of older farmers, not only because of their power, but because of the memories and the trust they brought throughout the seasons. If the MF 35 was the beginning, the MF 135 was the steadfast friend, then the MF 1100 was the strong elder brother, always ready to take on any heavy work, never complaining. And that is why the MF 1100 deserves to be on the list of the 5 most reliable tractors that Massey Ferguson has ever built. Massey Ferguson 265. When it comes to a durable, powerful tractor that's not too complicated to maintain, the Massey Ferguson 265 always comes to mind. Released between 1975 and 1983, the MF 265 was part of the MF 200 series of tractors, a line that marked a clear period of maturity for Massey Ferguson in both design and performance. In the late 1970s, I remember many farms in the Midwest starting to replace their compact tractors with more powerful, more versatile machines. And the Massey Ferguson 265 was the most popular choice at the time, not just because of the value it offered, but because it never let people down. The MF 265 is powered by a 318 cubic inch Perkins diesel 4-cylinder engine that produces about 60 horsepower at the PTO, enough to pull a large 3-blade plow, run a roll press, or run a medium-duty conveyor. Not too big, but powerful enough for most of the work a family farm might handle on a daily basis. Best of all, this Perkins engine is easy to maintain. It starts quickly, runs smoothly, and doesn't require a computer to troubleshoot problems like today's modern models. Weighing in at about 5,800 pounds, the MF 265 has a great balance of power and versatility. You can use it for a variety of purposes, from plowing, towing a trailer, to tilling the back garden. And if need be, it can work on pasture all day long without complaint. Many farmers have called it the all-day tractor. The transmission system includes 8 forward and 2 reverse gears, along with the multi-power option, allowing the driver to easily adjust the speed depending on the job. The hydraulic system is strong and reliable, helping to lift and lower agricultural equipment quickly and accurately. One thing that those who have used the MF 265 have noted is that it is very stable and sturdy, even when working on uneven terrain. Perhaps what makes the MF 265 a legend in the eyes of many is its versatility and durability over time. Many MF 265s are still working regularly until today, after decades of service, with very few major overhauls. Mostly changing the oil filter, adjusting the fuel system a little, and that's enough to keep it plowing and harrowing as before. I have witnessed a friend in Tennessee using an MF 265 for more than 30 years. He said that in terms of hours worked, this was the most valuable machine he had ever invested in. And when he passed away, his son was still using the same machine to continue farming. The MF 265 did not have a flashy appearance, no digital display, nor smart electronic systems like today's tractors. But what it did have, and it had a lot of it, was absolute reliability. It worked hard, did not ask for much, and as long as an owner knew how to take care of it, it would repay with a lifetime of dedication. And that is why, in the list of the 5 most reliable tractors of the Massey Ferguson brand, I could not help but mention the MF 265. It is not just a tractor, it is a part of memory, of trust, and a symbol of the sustainable labor values that American farmers always preserve. Massey Ferguson 390. Perhaps many of us still remember very clearly the time in the late 80s when American agriculture was entering a new era. Machinery began to modernize, electronics gradually crept into the fields, but not everyone was willing to give up the simplicity, ease of repair, and inherent reliability of purely mechanical tractors. And then, the Massey Ferguson 390 appeared as a solid bridge connecting tradition and modernity. The MF390 was produced from 1987 to 1997, part of the famous 300 series of Massey Ferguson. With about 75 horsepower at PTO, this machine is in the mid-range segment but is rated outstanding in terms of pulling power, stability, and overall durability. It uses a Perkins 4.0 L 4-cylinder diesel engine, which is very familiar and trusted by many generations of American farmers. Back then, the MF390 was considered the top choice for small and medium-sized farms because it could handle everything, from pulling harrows, weeding, spraying, to operating a hay baler, harvesting, or carrying light loads. Weighing in at around 7,400 pounds, it was sturdy enough to balance while carrying equipment, yet still easy to maneuver in small fields or when entering and exiting narrow barns. One of the most valuable aspects of the MF390 was its simplicity and effectiveness in design. There were no electronic buttons, no digital displays, just basic switches, a manual shifter, and a mechanical throttle, but that was what made it so strong. Users didn't have to worry about faulty circuits, didn't have to wait for a technician to come check the computer. Everything was easy to understand, easy to fix, and easy to replace, just what a veteran farmer would want. The 12-speed forward and 4-speed reverse transmission, along with the optional multi-power system, allows the MF390 to handle a variety of working conditions. Add to that the incredibly powerful 3-point hydraulic system, and many people say it lifts anything I attach to the back. That is not an exaggeration. I remember one August afternoon in Ohio, an old friend of mine, Walter, pointing at his MF390 and saying, "I bought it in my early 40s, now I'm almost 70. And it still does better than a lot of kids." And it was true. That Perkins engine still purrs every winter morning, the hydraulics are as smooth as ever, and the machine still stands there, in the backyard, like a trusted old friend. The MF390 is also one of the last models to carry the old mechanical spirit before Massey entered the electronic age. Therefore, for those who have used it, the MF390 is not only a tool, but also a memory, a part of youth attached to the land, to sweat and crops. Today, it is not difficult to find an MF390 that is still working well, passed down through generations. And the reason is very simple: it does not break down, is not capricious, and always does the assigned work well. If you are looking for a tractor that represents true durability, precision, and simplicity, the machine that is ready to work day in and day out without complaint, then the Massey Ferguson 390 is the image you are looking for. And that is why I firmly believe that the MF390 deserves to be on the list of the 5 most reliable tractors of Massey Ferguson, not because it is perfect, but because it is a true tractor, truly living with the farmer, working the land for a lifetime. Dear friends, we have just taken a look back at 5 Massey tractors. Each of the machines we mentioned today is not just a working machine. They are a part of the lives of millions of American farmers, attached to each crop season, each time of plowing the land, each foggy morning starting the engine in the quiet barn. They have witnessed many changes in the field, from the generation of fathers to the next generation. If you have ever sat behind the wheel of an MF, I believe that in your heart you still have the same feeling of trust, the steady hum of the engine, and the pride in knowing that that machine, although not flashy, always fulfills its duty, every day, without complaint. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. If you like this content, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends and relatives who have been attached to the fields, to tractors, and to a time of honest, precious farming. See you again in the next videos, where we will tell the stories of the land, of machines, and of a generation that built America with hard-working hands and steadfast hearts. Wishing you good health and a peaceful working day.